Om Namah Shivaya friends, welcome to Dots of Destiny. Today's topic is about the transit of Mars in Virgo and aspected by a retrograde Saturn. Every 1.5 year, because Mars and Saturn does meet, conjunction and opposition happens. This is a very important time, I feel, when the Saturn is retrograde and Jupiter is in Ardra Nakshatra and Rahu is in Purva Bhadrapada. Things are very chaotic and decision making, or Mercury is also retrograde. So retrograde Saturn Mercury gives us lot of overthinking also, and there are a lot of pending jobs also. If we at this moment, if you look back and think what are the pending jobs, it is constantly maybe running in your mind. At least that is happening for me. That is how Mercury retrograde works for me, and Saturn retrograde also. Now this ingress of Mars in Virgo from the 28th of July to the 13th or 15th of September, 1.5 months, will be a very vital transit. Now there are good and bad both about it. Saturn Mars is not an energy which is easily handled, but retrograde Saturn, since it will make you do certain things so that those things which were pending will reach its conclusion. The addition of the Marsian force over here is not bad. This is what I feel. Yes, Mars is a soldier, Mars is courage, Mars is blood pressure, it propels you to do the things. And Saturn, because it runs slow, Mars will push this Saturn so that you do your things, take some dynamic decisions and make the completion of the pending things happen during this period of time. Because it is near a very long time that Mars has been, because see, if you look back, Mars in Gemini, Mars in Cancer, and now Mars in Leo, all the transits are very nerve threatening. I'll put it in that way. Virgo, I personally feel Virgo is sign which Mars likes, as Mars also goes exalted in the sign of Capricorn, which is earthy sign. Now earthy signs have lot of absorption power or patience that Mars gains a lot when it comes into Virgo. Virgo has very three good and important nakshatras: Uttar Falguni, Hasta and Chitra. All the nakshatras are good and they are brilliant in their own way. The more said, the less it is about. But here Mars, reaches a, whenever I have seen Mars, especially in Virgo and Capricorn, Mars reaches a very structured approach. And that is what is needed for the brutal, crude energy of Mars. Because already Ketu is creating quite a chaotic energy in Leo. As I'm making this video, still the next week is wholly left for the Mars Ketu bombardment to happen, which everybody should be very cautious about in every terms. Whether in any field of life, you have to be very cautious. Let these days pass. This is not at all a conjunction which we are looking forward to for a very long time. And this Mars has also reached a very chaotic in its energy, because see, I have always been very observant of the energies that a planet gives in a sign. And this Mars, the moment it has entered into Leo, previously also I have seen Mars entering Leo, but this Mars is different. The energy is very chaotic, unnecessary, it's not directionally good, and Ketu being there is creating all the havoc over there. And so that's why I feel this ingress of Mars into Virgo is very important. Virgo is that energy, that stabilized factor that we need now. Yes, there is an issue as Saturn is aspecting this Mars in Virgo. Saturn is retrograde. Retrograde Saturn will make you again look back and do things certain again and again and again. Yes, but you have to complete this by November, right? Because retrograde Saturn also has a characteristics of suddenly giving you result. This is my observation. Again, I have seen that whenever Saturn is retrograde, a long pending job, not the job that you had been thinking of maybe immediately 1-2 months or like that, maybe from last year, or maybe from January you had been thinking something and still it could not reach a point. This aspect of Mars on Saturn and Saturn on Mars will make the job done, and you will get the gusto, you will, and appropriately. That's why I love this Mars in Virgo. There is a reason. See, Virgo is obviously Mercurian signs. Mercury is enmity with Mars, but one has to understand the sign of Virgo is very patience oriented, and Mars does good, especially in 3, 6, 10, 11. If you have a Virgo, even second also, second Mars Virgo is also good. You will have some benefit out of this this transit of Mars in Virgo. You will have. Now Mercury is retrograde, the dispositor is retrograde. This Mercury will go direct by 15th of August, I think, if I'm not 15th, 16th August. So by then, in this 15 days, and then it will be even more better after 15th of August, because the Mercury will be direct and it will want to cross Cancer now and come into Leo. So when the dispositor gets direct and rushing to go towards the next sign, the jobs will be done even better, in a more intellectual way, in a structured way, in a better way, and it will reach the culmination point, which is very important. So this is a big transit. Yes. Now what is the negative about this transit? Obviously there can be mundane level, lot of things can happen. There is a friction between Saturn's energy and Mars, because see, Saturn is oil and Mars is the fire. Though both is very important, we cook because of the oil and the fire. Obviously the vegetables comes later, but these two are the main ingredients for cooking. So Mars and Saturn is very important. If anybody has a conjunction, opposition, parivartana of Mars, or Mars is aspecting Saturn by the 4th aspect, Saturn by the 10th aspect is aspecting, if this kind of things are there in your horoscope, you will see you cannot let go a thing. You will make the ends meet. Maybe you subtly slow down for some time, but you cannot let the thing go. You will fight it out, you will speak out, you cannot be people pleasing. Those are the qualities of Saturn Mars. For me, if you ask me, it is a great combination to have. Yes, it adds friction to your life, but see, from my point of view, I see life as you have to achieve whatever you have understood, whatever the way it is, and this achievement oriented axis, Mars and Saturn, gives a very nice thing or edge towards from the other people. This I've seen again and again in Saturn Mars combination, because why not? Saturn will take time. Mars is the commander, it has the courage, the boldness, the energy. Saturn will plan it, the structured approach. That is why Mars gets exalted in the sign of its most enemy planet, Saturn. But this is not exactly, I don't call it in this way. Yes, they are very important planets and they don't want to give it to the other one. They want to take a stride. So this will be a very important transit, no doubt about that. And I very much see this retrograde Saturn things will be very much fast accomplished in this 1.5 month of Mars aspecting this Saturn. Later things later, then it will again become Shadashtak with Saturn when it goes into Libra Mars. That will come later. But now let us talk about all the ascendants regarding this Mars-Saturn opposition in the Virgo-Pisces axis. Let's jump into the timestamp. Aries ascendant, the transit of your Lagna Lord now comes into the 6th house. Upacha house and Mars does good in that, we all know, and Mars fights out the things that had been pending in your life till now. Whether it is any everyday job that you are looking for, because here it is aspected by your actual 10th Lord Saturn retrograde in the 12th house. Maybe opportunities, whatever was coming, you were not able to do justice to it, or even in nowadays context, the opportunities are also very limited. So this time is very important for you. When your Lagna Lord is in the 6th house, whether it is any loan thing that you want to do, your everyday activities, your active participation in that, your correct judgment of the things, not rushing and playing it well, all these factors will be enhanced by the Mars in the 6th house. Yes, Mercury, the lord of the 6th, is retrograde, no doubt about that. That is in your 4th house. So any rethinking of the 4th house matters can be done and progressed after 15th of August. As the scenario is giving way for the Mars slowly to move into Libra and aspecting the Lagna. So though I do not like so much Mars in the 7th house transit, but aspecting the Lagna, its own sign, is good. Here over now you have a 6th Mars and you're ready for competition. Now competition can be at different levels. Work pressure, your competitive exams, your gusto to do the thing, keeping your health at a better regime. All these things will be propelled by the Mars. Yes, I'm not telling that it will be a very smooth path, because the retrograde Saturn from the 12th house will create some friction definitely. Mars is aspecting your 9th house, Mars is aspecting your 12th house, and obviously your Lagna also. Yes, so these are the aspects of Mars now. Now, going out to some place for a job change, understanding how to deal with the thing, at what level, at what space. Maybe some pending interviews are there, maybe some pending studies are there, maybe some loans needs to be taken, maybe your health care needs a more better access towards medical help. All these things will be done by this Mars, and you will feel much again I'm saying friction will be there because Saturn is there opposite to the Mars, but you will feel quite a renewed sense of goodness or a vitality in you. Rather, goodness is not the word, vitality should be the important thing that is happening with this Mars transit in Virgo. Have patience, go with because Virgo is a very patience oriented sign. So utilize this Mars 1.5 month of transit from 28th July to 15th of September or 13th of September. Use this time to your advantage. That is the main important theme, because Lagna Lord in the 6th house, actually in the house of depths, Rog Ring Shatru, is gearing up to help you to deal with them and finish off the things that had been lagging, because your Lagna Lord was not at all in a good position for a very long time, not even in Leo, with still the Ketu conjunction pending. As I'm making this video, next whole week there is a Mars Ketu conjunction. Take care of your health and well-being, mental, physical, your children, everything. Then once you process this, you are gearing to go in the 6th house. Yes, challenges are waiting for you, but you will be able to meet out with those challenges with renewed force of energy. And mostly because the Saturn is retrograde in the 12th house, your 10th and 11th Lord, please avoid making mistakes, because Saturn retrograde will otherwise not leave you and make you to do the same thing again and again till it reaches completion. So better keep a detailed approach to whatever task you are taking up at your hand. Don't hurry, process it in a very systematic and in a very logical way, and you will reach the conclusion and betterment will happen. Best of luck. Taurus ascendant. Taurus Mars is transiting in the 5th house. 5th house Mars Virgo, your 12th Lord. Your 12th Lord Mars is now in the 5th house, aspected by and the 7th Lord also. Now here see, this is 5th house. Mars is a very logical mind, but leave apart the mind, I do not find it very acting very great in the 5th house, to be very frank with you. The transit of your Lagna Lord on the Lagna, then in the 2nd house and the 3rd house will be good, even the 4th house. But handling this Mars, if you are running a prominent dasha, Antardasha, Pratyantar Dasha of Mars at this point of time, because it is aspecting your Bhagya Lord also, Saturn, retrograde in the 11th house in Pisces. Saturn is trying to give you the best of results. Saturn is a good planet for you, but Saturn being Saturn, it's a slow planet. Slowness sometimes irritates us, and it creates friction in the process that we want to take, because Saturn does not want to give a very fast result. Yes, it gives. If a thing has been pending for very long, retrograde Saturn will give in very fast sudden results. That is also, again and again I've seen, it is a characteristics of retrograde Saturn. But here Mars, the 12th Lord, can bring in some displeasures in your financial market, in your understanding of things, in your communication with the loved ones, with your children, because here Mars is aspecting the 8th house also, the 11th house and the own house, the 12th house. So it is, if, as I said, if the dasha is prominent with Mars, then you have to be very careful. It's not a very good transit at all, I'll not say. And you have to be very sophisticated in your approach with the people, the relation, your mate, your partner, your love, or whatever it is, even if your children. Because here Mercury is retrograde. The 5th Lord is retrograde, especially till 16th of August. So here you have to judge the situation. Mars sometimes gives intellect very nice in the 5th house, but a very rigid mind also. They want to do whatever they want to do. They don't listen. So that is a problem of the 5th house Mars. Logical but rigid. So that rigidity can create some issues with relationships. Obviously, 12th Lord aspecting the Bhagya Lord can bring some instances of impediments in the journey. The journey of this 1.5 months of Mars in the 5th house will not be a very easy navigation regarding whatever I said, all your relationships, all your market money, all your investment, managing the process, as it is aspecting the 11th house, it can be simple as some disputes with your networking people, with your loved ones. So mitigate slowly, because every transit will not give you a go. Like the Lagna Lord on the Lagna, the Saturn in the 11th, the Jupiter in the 2nd is giving you a better feeling. But now Mars is not in a good position. And obviously Ketu is also in Leo. These two positions are not good as of now. Take your relationships, your home front, your subtle things very carefully, otherwise you will reach a point of very high friction, and that will not be very great for your mental well-being. And also it can bring, as I said, impediments in your journey, whatever you are doing, whether it is studies, whether it is long distance journey, whether going to foreign lands, whether in your office area, whatever it is, this Mars can create some turbulence, because Saturn is your 10th Lord also, and it is getting aspected your 9th Lord also, getting aspected by the 12th Lord. So these are the things. And obviously 5th Lord going into the 7th house, I like it, but 7th Lord coming into the 5th house is not because your partner is now dependent on your Bhagya, and sometimes it is not a very good thing that I have seen. So be careful in all these matters. Transits are here, and our explanation leads you to the path which makes you easily navigate through these precarious or important transits. Take good care. Gemini ascendants, Mars is in the 4th house. Okay, now this 4th Mars is aspecting your Saturn in the 10th house, which is retrograde. Now here 4th Mars, we all know Mars is not at all comfortable in any whichever way in the 4th house. Only thing is that it can make you buy property, it can make you buy a car, but it will create a lot of disturbances in your 10th house area. And it is aspecting your 7th house and 10th house and 11th house. So Mars is for Gemini people not a great planet. We all know that. It is the 6th Lord in the 4th house. So 6th Lord and 11th Lord also. So maybe your money you are spending for property matters, for taking a loan, you are adding up to something, some kind of a reconstruction, some buildings or something in your 4th house area. The relationship with the mother can suddenly go haywire in these kind of transits, especially if if you are running a dasha of Mars, Saturn or something. Mars, Saturn's friction, as I've mentioned in the earlier part of my video, Saturn in the 10th house is not easy. I think by now the Gemini ascendants have understood that, because going gaga about Saturn in the 10th house is not that is not how the prognosis should be done. Saturn takes a lot of time, energy. It's a friction oriented planet. It creates that kind of a thing wherever it is sitting and whichever planet is aspected by that. So here the Mars Saturn can create a very chaotic, disbalanced situation also regarding your 4th and 10th house matters, which can equally become important, and you have to understand which one to pick and choose and which one to complete it first, because your Lagna Lord is also retrograde at this point of time. So once the Lagna Lord gets into a direct position in the 2nd house, it will be a little better, but still Mercury is in Cancer. Cancer is not the sign that Mercury likes watery signs, and Mercury have different kind of issues. I'll not say bad, but it has different issues as far as the planet Mercury is concerned in the watery sign. But yes, Mercury is a very flexible planet and it can adjust to the situation. That is the best part of Mercury. Now here, coming back to this Mars in the 4th house, it can create problems in the home front. It can create loan related issue. Maybe you ask for a loan which is not sufficient. Lot of things, because Saturn is limitation. It is aspecting this Mars. Your office area can be a little volatile. It can be some tug of war situation. You want to protest, you are unable to, or if you do, it can be some other thing. You want to search for a different job, which is not happening at this point of time. Things are not in a very good shape, I must say that, because Jupiter on the Lagna is a saving grace. That is, your 10th Lord is on the Lagna, but still it is an Ardra Nakshatra. It is chaotic. So, and Rahu in the 9th house is no good at all. Ketu in the 3rd house gives unnecessary fast decision making, which needs to be coming under the scanner. So this is, again I'm telling you, if you're having a dasha, it will impact more, this Saturn Mars combination, opposition. But if you're not having, some here and there things can happen with you. Be aware of that, and because we know such conjunctions are not easy to deal with. They are not bad. They propel the things. They make the things done, because Mars wants to finish up the thing and Saturn is retrograde. So you do the things that already you have been planning for a very long time and complete it. But then in the process, there can be some things that are electrifying, and it can trigger you at a certain point, especially at the home front, because Saturn is disturbing at the 10th front also. So take good care of your health, your mental well-being. Jupiter is there on the Lagna. It is a very good arrangement, no doubt, but this transit, especially in the 4th house, is not easy to deal with. Only that is the hiccup in the Cancer ascendants. The 3rd house transit of Mars in Virgo could be highly beneficial for you. Regarding any startup project, any competition, communication, your vitality will rise to a certain extent. 3rd house, I find, is a very vibrationally, it is a very nice house in that way. Regular jobs, small term goals, all these things can be fulfilled by this Mars in the 3rd house. Obviously, Mars is from the 3rd, it is aspecting your 6th house, it is aspecting your 9th house where Saturn is there, and on the 10th house. So it has drishti on the 10th house also, an aspect. So the 10th house matters can also, if pending matters are there, can reach a conclusion. Obviously, Saturn is a very slow moving planet, and in retrogression it makes you do the things again which you had been following up for quite a long time. Also, Saturn retrogression gives way to the things that you have been planning and doing for a very long time is not getting the result. Mars here aspecting this retrograde Saturn can suddenly make the things happen, and you will be dynamic. Other than some communication can be a bit harsh with Mars in the third. With your siblings there can be some kind of issues, with your neighbors also, if at all. If you are prominently running a dasha or antardasha of Mars, that can happen, because Mars gets a little bit edgy when it is aspected by Saturn. The reason is that Mars wants an open place to play its. Now for quite a long time Mars is not having the thing. In Cancer it was debilitated. In Leo till now, as I'm making the video, it is with Ketu, and it's an erratic process actually, Mars Ketu. Still 1 week left, take good care of the process, and then Mars jumps into Virgo. Virgo is a good sign for Mars, though Mercury is not a friend of Mars, and Mercury is retrograde and on your lagna at this point of time when Mars will enter Virgo. Mercury will go direct definitely, and because by the 15th or 16th of August, and when Mercury will go direct on the lagna, this Mars will get an added advantage of making the things happen in your third house factors more. Your bhagya can rise suddenly also. You can get more opportunities of work. You can feel something better inside you happening, getting the feeling of renewed feeling of doing again things. These things can happen as Mars enters into Virgo, your third house. Third house is your Purusharth, your courage. Mars totally fits in the house. So I will not go on and on with this transit. It is a good transit. Aspect of Saturn always tells Mars to verify the process. Mars is a very fast moving planet. It wants the things to be done. Saturn is not like Ketu. Saturn here will give maybe some impediments, if it gives also, because it is your 7th and 8th lord, but it will process it in a better way. And my understanding is that in this 1.5 month, at 15th of September, as this transit is there, you will be able to finish quite a few of your pending jobs, because Mars Saturn opposition will make you in that dynamic state, and you will be able to fulfill the process and move ahead. Because again later the ingress of Mars into the 4th house is not very good. So this is a good transit for you that is happening at this moment of time. And Mars is your yoga karak planet, the 10th house lord, the 5th house lord. So I think you can make most and in a very systematic, in a very solid approach, in full of courage, and a good decision, not a bold decision I'll take, but a good decision oriented approach, and make the things happen that were already lagging pending for a very long period of time. So make the most of this transit. It's a good transit for you, Cancer. Leo ascendants, it is the 2nd house ingress of Mars from the lagna. You will feel quite a relief because of the Mars Ketu conjunction on the lagna. It's quite quite erratic. Ketu wants to leave the things, Mars wants you to pursue it. Both are heated up planets. Still 1 week is left. I mean, I feel quite drained with this. I don't know what about the other Leos, but this is quite an erratic combination of Mars Ketu that is still happening for the next 1 week. But once Mars enters into Virgo, it is a money oriented transit rather, and Saturn is there in the 8th house. It can approach the Mars with some impediments, but what I have seen in Saturn retrogression and Mars opposing that retrograde Saturn is that pending jobs will need a relook, obviously, because Mercury, where Mars will now enter into Virgo, is your 2nd and 11th lord. It is in the 12th house. Now money matters come into a focus. Matters of the household things redone, matters of groups and activities, and Mars will propel these things. Mars is a very materialistic planet which wants to give you the courage to make decisions regarding the facts. Now Mars will be aspecting the 5th house, the 8th house, and the 9th house. So regarding your progeny, any decisions need to be taken regarding your financial situations, regarding your long distance journey. Saturn being in the 8th house will Saturn retrograde sometimes sudden gives result. If you had been planning for things which are very very long term now pending, it will suddenly give you result also. And this Mars will make because see, Saturn is a very slow planet. Mars Saturn opposition or conjunction is sometimes dreaded, or people people feel a little tired with it, because it's like two rocks getting friction with each other. Mars wants to do it fast and Saturn wants to take time and do it, but Mars makes the things happen. So monetarily I feel it's a good transit, but with your speech you have to be very wary of what you say, or with your family members also you have to keep a good sometimes Mars in the second house creates a lot of chaos with the family people also. I'll not deny that. Nonetheless, it's not a bad transit. I think it's a relief from the it should be, and definitely it will be a relief from the Lagna Mars with the Ketu conjunction. So here second Mars will be a much better, third Mars will be even better, fourth Mars is again a little transformational. That we'll talk about later. Mars transit is very important for you as it is a very good Yogacara planet for you, but Mars challenges you also to take up the decisions and put your foot forward and make it happen. So this you will start from now. Virgo is a good sign and Mercury is retrograde now in your 12th house. Mercury will go direct by 16th of August, and then process will be even faster before Mercury moves on the Lagna by 30th of August. So all in all, it is not a bad transit, and it is only precaution, as I said, regarding what you eat, what you say, and what happens in the family. That's it. Otherwise, yes, there's opposition. There will be certain things which will go through a little bit of going back and forth, little bit, not too much, because Saturn also wants the things to add up as it is retrograde now. Suddenly you will think the turn of events will happen, and this is a good thing to be, and it's a monetary wise it should be a good transit. So take care of that. Virgo ascendants, it is on the Lagna. Now Mars on the Lagna, the 8th lord, lot of transformation. See, Virgo, I have always seen that Mars acts not bad in Virgo. Thing is that when you're a Virgo ascendant and Mars comes on the Lagna, it is being the 8th lord that comes on the Lagna. Now when the 8th lord or the 3rd lord comes on the Lagna, you go through a process of transformation, especially if you have a prominent Mars Dasha, Antardasha, Pratyanta Dasha running. It will affect you too much, and you can feel very agitated, irritated. And because Saturn is there opposing this Mars in the 7th house, so anything or any part of your life, your efforts may not easily come into matter. You put efforts, it goes into a different direction. And 8th lord, the purpose of the 8th lord is to oppose you and make you feel a little bit down, and then it moves, and Mars on the Lagna gives some kind of irritability, I will put it in that way. I've always seen Mars, the transit of Mars on the Lagna, a person wants to do a thing because it puts you into that kind of an action mode. Here retrograde Saturn is waiting in the 7th. You cannot do whatever you want because it will then become very hot-headed, this Mars on the Lagna. That's why you have to have a very calculative, patience-oriented approach, because Mercury is now retrograde. Mercury retrograde in your 11th house. 11th house is good, but retrogression will make you do the pending jobs faster. Mercury goes direct from 16th of August. After that, things will go even a little better in the space, but as of now the things are very tight. And please take care of your health and well-being. You can shout at people, you can feel suddenly very dejected, rejected, and all your plans are going into a haywire direction, because see, you are putting efforts. The 3rd lord, you want to put effort. Mars is aspecting your 4th house, Mars is aspecting your 7th house and the 8th house. The aspects are also not good. 4th aspect of Mars is too much. It can be putting efforts into the unknown place of 4th house, it can create chaos. 7th aspect, you know, Mars is never with the Saturn Mars combination in the 1st and the 7th, it is very friction oriented approach in these two planets. 8th house Mars in its own house, it can create sudden upheavals in your life. Be very careful. I'm very sorry to say the other planets are well placed, Mercury in the 11th, Jupiter in the 10th, Saturn in the 7th, but this this transit of Mars is no way good. Venus, your 7th, your Bhagya Lord is now in the 9th, and it will very fast come by the next week to your 10th house. So even 10th house matters can take a, you know, turn, and which can make you very irritated, and you want to go with the process but you have other pending things to do. Don't shout on people, take on the things slowly, I mean in a space, and do not get too much irritated. Mars is very difficult to handle on the Lagna, I know that, with an aspected retrograde Saturn, because Saturn, though retrogression Saturn wants you to complete the things and it gives a sudden result. I'll not disagree with that. Saturn is a good planet for you and it will give sudden results also. That is how the retrogression works. Sudden, not quick. Sudden results. After quite a process of going through the repetition, suddenly the thing gets done. That is how Saturn works when it's retrograde. So take care of this transit. I cannot say it's a great transit that is happening, but transit's a transit. It will fade away in 1.5 months, then something better to look forward later. So take care, Virgos. For Libra ascendant, the transit of Mars in Virgo is happening in the 12th house. 12th house Mars, your 2nd lord and the 7th lord, can give into some expenses definitely, because 2nd lord going into the 12th house and aspected by a Saturn in the 6th house is not a very easy transit. Now see, Venus, your Lagna Lord, is in the 8th house when this is now at this point of time, and now it will go to the 3rd house with Jupiter conjunction over there. I'll talk about that later, but these kind of conjunctions, when they happen, when Mars in the 12th house, because overall the planets, what they're saying is that there is some kind of dilemma, some kind of delays, some kind of money being spent on things that you do not want to, because Mars in the 12th actually given to expenses of Rogrin Shatru. Virgo is the sign over there, and that is why you are in a dilemma what to choose, what not to choose. If you are specially running the Dasha Pratyantar Antardasha of Mars, this will be more prominent, because Mars Ketu in the 11th, now as I'm making the video, the next whole week there is a Mars Ketu conjunction going on. Then only by 20th of July, 28th, Mars will be moving into Virgo. 12th Mars is not easy. You know what, 12th house is a very calm space and Mars finds it very difficult. That's why Mars in Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, though its own sign, this Moksha Trikon Mars, it gives some fidgeting with itself. Internally, you will feel these things are happening, because Mars will be aspecting your 3rd house from the 12th house. You want to do, you want to take actions. Saturn opposing this Mars in the 6th house. By now this you have understood that Saturn in the 6th is not a very easy transit. It looks that Saturn Upachya house, great transit. No, it's not totally like that. Saturn brings a lot of impediments in the 6th house, and it is like climbing up 2 steps and going back 1 step. Criticism and a lot of things. Now if you have, definitely you have pending works, as this Saturn is retrograde aspecting the Mars, and also this Mercury is retrograde, which Mars is sitting on the sign. Now these two, because this Mercury is in the 10th house, here there can be a situation, because see, the 6th house, the 10th house, the 12th house, job related issues, you are quitting something, gaining into something. Money can be a factor which you are thinking about. Some medical help may be needed, because 12th house Virgo with Mars being there, you know, if anything happened, Rogrin Shatru, you are thinking about that. The decisions and the steps are not very easy, because 12th Mars Mars, don't jump into thing. Saturn is retrograde, it will make the things happen. Saturn is a yoga karak planet, but 6th Saturn, however yoga karak it is not easy. You will be blamed, you will be criticized by your work area, your own people. A lot of things happen with Saturn. The 6th house, more work, less of recognition. And this is retrograde, means some pending works that you have, you will be trying to finish those pending works. Mars can make those happen because Mars gives that energy to Saturn. Saturn is a very slow planet. Retrogression, Saturn does not ever give quick result, it gives sudden result. Things that had been pending for very long can reach a sudden conclusion because Mars from the 12th is also propelling this Saturn to make the things happen. Now take care of your money. Take care of your well-being, take care of your mental situations, because the second lord, and also it can be something regarding your partner. Maybe, see, these are consequences. It may not, a partner gets away from you, or some kind of medical situation is needed, or even your partnership is broken, or going into the foreign lands can feel you a little costly out there. These scenarios can happen. Libra people are not having a very easy time because Jupiter's this on the 9th house is see, Jupiter does not matches with Venus. I'll talk about that next week when Jupiter-Venus conjunction takes place. Jupiter works in a different way. Venus is very flexible, and the Daitya Guru, it works in a very diplomatic, very different than what Jupiter is. So that's why take a slow approach. Your expenses can make you ponder a lot. You can get opportunities from foreign lands also. Now you will be in a situation whether to take it or not to take it. You know, that is also a thing. So your partner may assist you in foreign related thing, or may go sometimes in foreign lands. If you both are there, it can assist. But because the 7th lord is going 6th, it can it can be what you say and what your partner says is different. That can also happen. So these things are there. Once Mars comes on the Lagna, again there is another thing. If you are running a dasha of Mars, these transits of Mars can really affect you quite a lot. Your mental health, your physical health should be taken care of, because all these things, Mars can create quite a havoc in the 12th house, in the 1st house, everything. Retrograde Saturn is in some way it is good, not all bad. But yes, it makes you contemplate and think. Now till you were thinking, now some conclusions will be reached. One, Mars comes into Virgo. Second, when your Mercury gets direct in the 10th house. So what I am saying, synopsis is that take care of your money, health, partner, disputes. Slowly move ahead and take decisions, but in a very subtle mood, in a very understandingly. Don't be in a rush to take it. And once Mercury gets direct in the 10th house, then the decisions making will become a little more easier and the flow will be a little more better. So take care, Libra people. Scorpio, ascendants, Mars, your Lagna Lord in the 11th house. It's a very good transit actually. I like 11th Mars because 10th Mars, not that I don't like, but Ketu is an erratic planet in the 10th house. 10th house is not the place of moksha. And yes, the south node over here gives quite a lot of impediments with this Mars-Ketu conjunction being there in the 10th house happening still as I'm making the video. Next whole week is there for Mars-Ketu. Take care regarding your 10th house matters. 11th Mars is good. 11th Mars gives you, quite a, you'll be able to understand money comes from which source. Some gains are expected, trimmed maybe because Saturn is retrograde in the 5th house, or it can work in both ways. It can get a bit trimmed also, or sudden money can come also. Because Mars activates this Saturn. The Saturn, whenever Saturn-Mars comes together or opposition, the Saturn gets a little more activated than usual because that power of Mars does that. Now, will Saturn not aspect Mars? It is also. That's why some irritation will be there in the process, not denying that. But still, it is a good transit to understand and go for. And your networking people can help you. That is also one thing. Saturn can make sudden things happen. In the retrograde Saturn, you'll always try to do the things that are pending. Maybe your home affairs, 4th house, 3rd house affairs, journeys and all these things. Now, it will not be coming to you very easily because Saturn is retrograde. Cheshtaval, you have to put more effort. But sudden culmination will come, not quick, sudden. So this is what I have seen with these kind of arrangements, but nonetheless the transit of Mars is good over here. The nakshatras are good in the 11th house. The nakshatras are good in Uttar Falguni, Hasta, Chitra. You'll have good people to support you maybe. Saturn disturbs it in a way, I'll not deny that, but then you will be able to do the process and move through it. You know, the transit of Mars gives aspects the 2nd house, again a money house, then it is obviously aspecting your 5th house and your 6th house. So your money related matters, your daily job matters, your progeny matters, your gains, all these things will be prominent, and you will be able to go through the process and achieve quite a lot in this 1.5 month. Another thing, because Sun will also enter Leo. Now again, this whenever these good transits of Sun in Leo is again marred somewhere by Ketu sitting over there from 17th of August to the 16th of September. Mars is more or less at that time. So 10th Lord in the 10th house and Lagna Lord in the 11th house together can be quite good transit serving for you. That can really happen. Mercury is retrograde. The dispositor of Mars is retrograde till 16th of August in the 9th house. Then Mercury will also move ahead. It will be easier for Mars to deliver the result. Nonetheless, a good transit. Keep it up. Take good care. Sagittarius ascendant, it is the 10th house Mars. You're raring to go. The 10th house Mars without Ketu being there, yes, aspected by Saturn. There will be some push and pull, but nonetheless Mars works good in the 10th house. Some reassessing situations. It is the 5th Lord. Sudden opportunities, you miss some, you get some, because 5th is 8th from itself, so the Lord. And then also the 12th Lord, so a change. 12th house shows 12th Lord being Mars. It's a good change which can happen, and maybe you are waiting for the change and some conclusion is drawn, and this Mars is aspecting your Lagna. Now Jupiter is also aspecting your Lagna, Saturn is also aspecting so I mean this is a very good transit to happen. Only problem is that Mercury is in the 8th house. Whatever Mars wants to do, Mercury is retrograde to the 16th of August. So things will be a little trimmed, and Jupiter will also be in Adra till 15th of August. So till 15th of August, you are beating about the bush, to say the truth. And then the transit fructifies in a better way. From 15th onwards, August to 16th of September, as Sun will also go into Leo at this point of time. So it's a good transit, it's a dynamic transit, is aspecting the Lagna, the 4th house where Saturn is there, and the 5th house. Saturn definitely creates some hindrances in the way, but Mars is also Mars. It also puts an aspect on Saturn and makes Saturn go and do things a little faster. It gives sudden results with Mars-Saturn opposition. Suppose you're trying to do a thing, it goes through a moment of, not easy path, and then suddenly it happens. So Saturn retrogression will never give quick results. It gives sudden results for long pending things that you were supposed to go through. So it is nonetheless it's a good transit of Mars in the 10th house and the 11th house. Upachya Mars, at least it gives you the gusto to do the things, and three important planets are aspecting your Lagna. So it is a good transit, Sagittarius. Go for the things you want to do. You will be very dynamic in this 1.5 months of Mars in Virgo. Take care. For Capricorn ascendants, Mars ingress into Virgo in the 9th house, aspected by a retrograde Lagna Lord in the 3rd house. Now see, Mars is your 4th Lord and your 11th Lord. Now, some kind of a desire leaving the country and going to abroad can well happen at this point of time. Mars in the ninth house does not give very logically sound mind. It is the sign of, because you see, it is higher learning. Commander, if you put the commander into the ninth house and make him do the rituals, or it doesn't happen, it doesn't work like that. So whatever is your agenda with Mars in the ninth house, if you're running a prominent dasha antardasha, understand that do not push it too forward, because it can sometimes get a little bit more aggressive being Mars in the ninth house, and person because see, originally this ninth house flavor is like Sagittarius. It becomes too ambitious or flying at certain point of time. Now over here what happens is that your Lagna Lord is retrograde in the third house. Third house retrogression of Saturn can sometimes put some brakes in this journey. Saturn, when it is retrograde, it makes you do the thing and understand it again more, and understand your Bhagya Lord Mercury is also retrograde in the 7th house at this point of time. So Jupiter-Venus combination will happen in the 6th house very soon. Now you are having a 8th Mars-Ketu at this point of time when I am making the video. And then you will be having a next whole week of Mars-Ketu with this conjunction. Now take very slow and cautious steps. Rahu-Ketu axis for the Capricorn people are not in a very good condition, especially Ketu in the 8th house. Rahu in the 2nd house gives a long, I've seen many times they want to leave the country and go to foreign destinations, which is good, but when is the time right, that is important. Don't push forward things unnecessarily. Take your time to understand. If you have any, because see, Mars becomes aggressive in the 9th house. If you have anything regarding buying property, maybe away, it is your 4th Lord. 4th Lord in the 9th, buying property or going outside wherever you are, wherever is your native land, you are buying something outside there. That can also happen in the natal chart, so definitely it will be like that. Some kind of desire fulfillment, because the 11th Lord comes into the 9th house, and Mars is also aspecting the 12th house with this first aspect, then the 3rd house, and then the 4th house. So what basically needs to be understood is that first and foremost, Saturn being retrograde, your Lagna Lord, wants you to reflect something and then make it happen. First is this. Now when you reflect and you want to make the thing happen, there can be many different ways. Many people will have different agenda. Now do not force it too much, because this Mars is aspecting the Saturn, which is the house of decision making, 3rd. Sudden decisions you take, and Saturn is retrograde, you have to be careful, because retrogression Saturn, it's not that it will not give result, it gives sudden results, sudden accidents, quick results. That is the thing. And Jupiter Venus will be now in the 6th house. So some debts related thing, if you want to buy a house, how much you need the debt. If you have a medical problem, what is that you have to do? If you want an education loan, how much you can go for that? These things should be very clear in your mind. You should not jump into things. The 9th house matters always doesn't deal with, you are testing your Bhagya. That is the first and foremost thing, and your Bhagya Lord is retrograde in the 7th house. It will go direct from 16th of August. Slowly things will move, but you have to, that is how Mercury becomes retrograde. And Saturn retrograde is a big thing. Mercury retrograde 25 days, Saturn retrograde 3-4 months. So again, recalibration or understanding even more now your life again for this year. What to look back, what to rectify the mistakes, how to move ahead. This retrogression of Saturn is very important. Every year it is important. You will, if you ponder and if you look back, you will see retrograde Saturn in your case, especially it's a Lagna Lord, will make you do things you have been thinking for very long, or draw sudden ending to the things, culmination, ending, chapter over, which had been long pending. Now this Mars can propel the process, definitely. But Mars in the 9th house is not the house for Mars. That has to be understood. It is a commander sitting in the spiritual house or religious house. Long distance journeys you want, but at the cost of what? At the cost of your health, at the cost of taking a depth and going into that. You have to understand all these things. So it's a okay transit. Cannot say it's very good. Once Mars comes into your 10th and 11th house, much better, because it's a desire lord, right? So desire lord, you can have multiple desires, but whether at what point of time you want the desires to fructify and you make them happen, that is in your own hand. So take a step backward, don't rush into things, don't create unnecessary friction with people. Mars gives that also. When Lagna Lord is aspected by Mars, in your case, you can have friction with people because it is your networking Lord, Mars. So you are opposing your networking. They are saying something, you are saying something. So that can also well happen. Take care, Capricorn ascendant. 6th house, 2 important planets are there. Take care of your health also. Ketu is there in the 8th house, which is very important. We'll see later. Thank you. Aquarius, Mars in the Virgo in the 8th house, 10th lord and the 3rd lord going in the 8th house. Whatever you are thinking, whatever decisions you are making, it will not fructify in that way. And your Lagna lord is retrograde now. Maybe you had been thinking to do a process. See, Jupiter Venus combination, Venus will very fast enter into your 5th house. Good. Rahu on the Lagna, good. 10th lord in the 8th house, not bad. It is 11th from the 10th, but here the but is, the house is 8th. It will make you shun something egoistically and then go to the path to get some gains, if you want to get some gains out of this transit of Mars. Because this is, understand, your 5th lord, luck lord, not fortune lord. Luck lord is now in the 6th house. So you're fighting for certain things that luck could have given easily, but it is not happening the way. So that one has to understand that wherever Mars is sitting, 8th house Mars will definitely give sudden things. Now the suddenness, how if you're running a dasha, antardasha, pratyanta dasha, you should be very careful of accidents, rogrin, shatru, all these things, conspiracy, Mars in the 8th house and all this. If not, because your Lagna Lord is retrograde now, you will remember certain things that needs to be done now, certain jobs that will suddenly come to a conclusion. Because retrograde Saturn will not give quick result, but it will give sudden results of the jobs that have been pending for quite long, maybe from the last year. It happens because of the transit, which is very important. That's why Mercury transit 25 days, what you can change a document, a letter, or this thing. But Saturn, when it goes retrograde, is 3.5 months, 4 months. It's a very important retrogression. Retrogression of Saturn every year is very important. But problem here, or whatever you can call it, Mars is a very Ugra planet. And Saturn wants it to go slow. Mars puts pressure on Saturn. Saturn creates a friction with Mars. So the Lagna Lord opposing the 10th Lord, you know. So friction at the official front can well happen. You have to leave your ego and you have to go into a thing which is more available at now rather than what satisfies you. 8th house means, you know, your ego gets busted. So it cannot be a very good transit. Other factors are good, as I told you, but Mercury in the 6th house can deal with Rogrin Shatra. I'm not saying that, but we don't want the 5th lord in the 6th house or the 8th house. We don't want that. It gives a luck reversal, it gives, or some impediments, definitely it gives. But Jupiter Venus conjunction in the 5th house and Rahu and the Lagna in trines with this will give some good things also, and especially if you're running a dasha antardasha, you will get some goodness out of that. That transit I will make later with Jupiter Venus in the 5th and aspected by Rahu. So anyway, Aquarius, this was my transit of Mars, your 10th lord. Be very careful where you put effort, how you deal with your official things, what change you're going through. You should be a little bit flexible. Mars sometimes the 8th becomes very, very staunch, flexibility is missed. It becomes very fixated. So, but the situations are such in this today's world that opportunities are less and more scarcity. We know that, Saturn in Pisces. So not denying that, take good care of what you do with your 10th house matters and your efforts. Put efforts, but put it in the right direction. Don't be too rigid into matters. You will sail through this transit. Thank you. Pisces ascendant, Pisces, Mars is coming into your 7th house. Maran Karak Sthan for Mars, 7th house transit of Mars. It is not a good transit, not denying that. Yes, it is your fortune lord. The ninth lord is coming into the ninth lord and the second lord is coming into the 7th house. So it can be something to do with your partner. Monetarily, if you people are projecting, I mean, they're going for some kind of a project, if you are running a dasha antardasha of Mars, it will be very prominent. You can have disputes regarding that. You have to come to a conclusion regarding that. And also one thing is that Mars is aspecting the 10th house, Lagna, and the 2nd house. Now this Mars will put a pressure on the Lagna where Saturn is there. Saturn is retrograde, and this retrograde Saturn is making you contemplate and reorganizing your things. You know, Saturn on the Lagna is never easy transit because it is Dikshunya and it puts a lot of pressure. It makes you lonely, it makes you contemplate, it makes you comes with irritation. Retrograde Saturn does not give quick result, but it gives a sudden result definitely. So this Mars putting a pressure on Saturn and Saturn putting a friction on this Mars can give some clashes. Now clashes of opinions, because Saturn is your 11th lord. Clashes of opinions with the father, with the boss, with anything, because that is how the transit will work. And next video I'll make is on Jupiter Venus conjunction, which will happen in your 4th house. So Jupiter is well placed, but understand that this Jupiter is in Adra Nakshatra and Rahu is in the 12th house. Saturn on retrograde on the Lagna, Mars is in the 7th house. Situation is very precarious. Do not be very fast to take decision. Judge yourself well, how much you can do, what you can do with situations, whether it's your monetary thing, whether it is regarding your professional front, the 10th house matters, whether it is your education, whether sitting for competitive exams, whether just the peace of the house or your own peace, your own growth. It can be very much reaching that boiling point with Mars Saturn opposition exactly on the Lagna in the 7th house. Mars, if you are in a marriage, newly married, going to marriage, whatever, it can be my way or the highway in the 7th house, which is not required. Marriage does not work that way. So the transit of Mars in the 7th house and in the 8th house could be very precarious. You have to understand how to deal with this Mars. Then only you will be able to come out, you know, unscathed. Otherwise it will give ego clashes, it will make you irritated, your mental well-being is bad, you can slip from somewhere, you can have a problem with the lower part of the body, you can have accidents. All these things are seen from this Mars. Obviously, again I am saying, if the dasha is not like that, if you are not running a Saturn, Mars, Ketu, you know, rough dashas, then it will not be that bad, obviously. But then when a big transit like this happens with Saturn Mars opposition, certain things will come to an end, right? You have to accept it. And you cannot say my way, highway. I mean, maybe you are not like that. I'm not saying that. But 7th Mars, I have seen that's why it's the highest of Mangalic condition. They always feel it in that way. I take the final decision. So that kind of a flavor can happen with this transit. So in whatever factors of your life, you try to negotiate. That is very important, because 7th house is a house of Libra. We have to negotiate over there. Not my decisions are final. So anyway, Pisces, this was the transit of Mars. I'll come up with your Jupiter conjunct Venus transit because Venus is the 8th lord of you. And so till then, have a nice time and take good care of yourself. It's a big opposition of Mars Saturn coming up. All of you take good care of your health and your well-being, and do not be in rush to complete things. Till then, I'll come up with the next video. Bye bye, take care.